We're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Liberation Day.
I want to talk with you about a number of subjects that directly affect the future of the United States.
Good old Donnie Trump is planning on weaponizing the American economy in order to fight those globalist elites, ones who have stolen your jobs, your wealth, your livelihood. This has been proven so effective that we have turned former enemies into friends, banding together now just to fight back at us. Gotta love seeing Donald Trump normalizing relations between Japan, Korea, and China, truly a feat unimaginable simply 3 months ago. He is a candidate for peace after all. And Trump is pushing past all the criticisms. He won't listen to the haters who are claiming the economy is going to hurt, or those elitists who claim this will raise cost of living for everyday Americans. He's a man who listens to the real experts, himself. And Trump says, our real enemies? The globalists. But who are these globalists? Why haven't we seen their faces before? Are they hiding amongst us? Everyday monsters willing to strike when we least expect it. We need to know the enemy. That's the only way we're going to be able to defeat them. Let's be serious for a moment. There's a lot that can be said on the breakdown of tariffs for how they work and why the Trump administration is doing this ridiculous thing. If anyone would like me to break it down in a later video, please let me know. I'm happy to do so. There are others who could do it a little better than I. I am not an economist after all. See, my goal here is to punch through the conservative brothers and sisters and help us find out who are these globalist elites we've been so worried about. How are we liberated today, of all days? And what can we do to stop them? Only way to defeat your enemy is to know your enemy. Enough with the clickbait. I'm going to show you who the enemy actually is. Who are these globalists stealing your wealth and forcing it elsewhere, into their own pockets or into the pockets of some foreigners overseas? That's weird. This doesn't seem like any globalist cabal I was expecting. What does Republicans mean when they say globalist? They're diving into a feeling that exists amongst all Americans, left, right, and center, and about how our economy is gone for something you can actually live off of and turn to a never-ending rat race of struggle and depression. Republicans point to bad trade deals that sent your jobs overseas, sold it off to communist countries like China, just at the behest of this shady cabal of elitists that are poisoning our sky and water. Now, please, if you listen to nothing else, listen to this. They're lying to you. Those elitists they're talking about, well,
we traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Do you hear me? It's coming from inside the house.
of course, you know that. You realize the danger of both sides. Democrats have these elitists lined up in their pocketbooks too, just to screw over a small-town America. Trump is the outsider, though. He'll take on the globalists, and he'll win. That's the art of the deal, after all. But again,
the call's coming from inside the house.
You're being lied to again. The Trump administration is riddled with globalists. First of all, globalist isn't even the right word we need to use here. The people who screw you over have names, faces, stock options. They aren't some mysterious figures hiding behind the scenes pulling the strings. They're right there in front of you. You just need to stop drowning in the noise and take a look. So on this Liberation Day, let's explain how these globalists took over the free world and how we let them do it. See, my basic political philosophy can boil down to one thing nowadays, a simple idea. We have privatized American investment, and the free market has failed you. Politicians told corporations to trickle down and provide jobs. They bought themselves yachts and stock options instead. They took every mile in sight and refused when you asked for an inch. Our country was at its best when the tax rate for the upper 1% was 93%. The 40s, 50s, 60s. The real America. Well, then someone came along and started to argue that the poor were the real problem with America. It's not a coincidence that our wealth disparity has only gone to levels not seen since the 20s. There is no way to address these problems without dealing with that fact. You want to cut the U.S. debt? Raise taxes on the rich. You want to provide better housing? Raise taxes on the rich. And have our country actually invest in itself again. No one likes taxes, though. It's the only thing as eternal as death itself. Conservative media has painted everything done by the government as an evil devil march that plans on taking everything from you love and own. They've done that so the elites can steal from you. They need to paint to a boogeyman so that way you don't look at the actual devil himself. I know the responses to this are many and not so varied. The elitists are not the Hollywood entertainment types you've been so worried about. They make $1 million, true, and hell, probably bad for them. But they ain't compared to the billions being used to rob the country blind. There is no comparison to $1 billion. And even then, why would you defend these Hollywood elitists finally having to pay their fair share in the economy, rather than getting another job due to nepotism that they really ain't directed for? Hell, tax them too. There's only so much wealth in this country. We need to pay for roads, bridges, military, Social Security, all those services that we like so much. And those services are needed for the country to function. That money has to come from somewhere. Tariffs are just a way to shift that burden onto those who need to spend money to live. Groceries take up maybe a good portion of your budget on a month-to-month basis. Now imagine that's doubled. Now your job at the warehouse is cut too because they can't afford to export anything overseas. You want to know what destroyed small-town America? What dug up Main Street and left its corpse for all to see? You only need to look at those who have all the power and money. These people are not held accountable for their actions. They would sell you out and the economy just to make an extra buck without hesitation. And to distract you, they'll paint your fellow countrymen as the problem. Let us not forget now, it's been approximately 3 months since Republicans took power of all branches of government. They have yet to pass meaningful legislation. They have continued to gut the country as best they can because Donald Trump, he can't govern worth a damn. All the while, they're sitting there behind their powerful curtains, yelling and laughing. They've taken us for a bunch of suckers. You're being lied to here, folks. Now, on this Liberation Day, this holiest of holidays, as the eve President Trump has declared, I think it's important to remember that. He is, again, one of the wealthiest Americans to ever hold the office. He has a cabinet filled with nothing but wealthiest Americans. As the good Lord said, wealth corrupts. For it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to pass through the gates of heaven. Don't trust these rich elites. They're the ones poisoning the well. They're the ones poisoning the sky. They're the ones poisoning our media narrative. You want to make a difference? Figure out those who actually invested in America. Now, I know I hate to play politics. I hate to play politicians up too and pick one political side over the other. But at the very least, all the problems aside, Joe Biden did have an actual infrastructure bill passed. He invested in America. Whatever the issue with the Democratic Party you may have, they invested in America. Those tangible effects don't come around now until it's a little too late. And I want to talk about those issues. I want to bring those up, the problems and failures of these particular legislations. But I can't do that while they're robbing the country blind. So let's help fix that issue first. And watch this space. Hey, howdy there, folks. More here. This part is being recorded a little bit after the video editing process has been done. I made this entire video mostly before the tariffs were actually announced. And having now seen the full scope of the tariffs, I cannot reiterate the sheer stupidity that is coming from the White House on this. Again, everybody knows this, but it bears a reminder. The tariffs that were put into place during the Great Depression made the situation worse. There's no arguing that fact. It exacerbated an already bad problem. These tariffs are going to put a damper on the U.S. economy. There's no defending these tariffs. Is one, they're straight up lying as to what is actually being tariffed by our products overseas. Two, according to every internet sleuth we can find, is the fact that all of these tariffs that they're bringing up aren't actual tariffs, and they're taking the inverse proportion of the trade deficit with some country. And when there's not a trade deficit, or they just don't have a high enough one, they just defaulted to 10%. It's asinine. It is stupidity by design. This is ridiculousness of a committee that has obviously no inherent interest of helping the economy or the American people. And again, this is the end be-all result of the Republican economic policy that refuses to address actual needs but still dictates the idea that it needs to fix the problems that it itself creates. So we're screwed. This is so much worse than I think most people were predicting. Certain areas that are being tariffed, according to their big press release, are inhabited by penguins only. There is no logic in this. The logic is chaos and throwing a wrench into the economy. It's hopping into a negotiation with a live grenade, blowing up your own arm, and possibly scraping the people around you. We're fucked. But also, please, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff with your friends. We're still sticking around here, folks.